Kane, and we got two very special guests coming in. Crypto Vince in for the second episode. Wales only coming in for his first episode. Thank you to both of you gentlemen for taking out your time today and just coming by to talk about some of these things.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna basically just give the straightforward stats. Hex is sitting at 12.278 cents. T-shares are sitting at $2,249.01. T-share rate, we are sitting at 18,317 hex per T-share, and the payout today looking pretty average. We can head over, yeah, looking pretty average. And that's crazy to say because it's 38%.
Got spoiled, right?
Yeah, we're very spoiled. We're very spoiled over here. Just looking at Hex, it looks like, to me personally, it looks like we created a bottom right here. I don't think we're going to go much lower than this. We'll probably tap it. But what I've seen from this whole run up from about 1.4 cents where we were down here, 1.5 cents, I see that like we go on these long run ups. It looks like we create a top, create a bottom, and we stay within that channel until we break out of it. Same thing I've seen on this one. We created a top, created a bottom, we kind of stayed within that channel, broke out of it. And I think we'll do pretty much the same thing here. I'm not a huge TA guy. Wales, feel free to chime in on this. But yeah, I mean, like I like it. Hex, like, even if you don't understand these things, you can almost see the patterns. And that's kind of the point I just want to point out here is Hex is just doing his thing. Don't worry too much about this bottom if you are. Back over to Pulse Chain. Let's see, we are sitting at $1.41 for every 10,000 sacrifice points you're going to get if you sacrifice today. One thing I actually forgot. I want to go back to here because I was thinking about this. Since we're talking about sacrifice, we are looking at almost 0.5% of Hex that has been sacrificed into this. I'm a little confused on this because obviously when you take Hex out of circulation, that increases scarcity. That's obviously a good thing for price. Is sending Hex to this other address actually taking it out of circulation? Because I've been hearing different opinions on that.
I think it is because I think we can reasonably assume that the Hex OA entity is the same entity that is the one that's collecting this Hex and supervising the Pulse Chain launch. So lots of great people like Gunter, the accountant, have done lots of deep analysis and really kind of found out that the OA hasn't sold market sold a single Hex. So it's reasonable to assume that they're going to keep up the same behavior and not sell that Hex that they collect from the sacrifice phase. So, yeah, that's just my take on it. But
gotcha.
Maybe Wales has some other insight too.
I don't see that supply ever coming back on the market. And it's just like Vince said, Gunther has verifiably proven that for the community that the OA has not sold a single Hex, right? And that's important. What's going on, Matty Crypto? Thanks for tuning in, bro. And that is important, right? Because we've already seen 600 days of Hex and not a single Hex has been sold. So with that being said,
you can almost infer that.
Correct.
That this is just going to increase scarcity within the system.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And
and there's a couple other particulars, right, that we need to take into account just before we move on.
Yeah.
In case you guys aren't aware, which I'm pretty sure you guys are, but for those watching that might not be, it's important to realize also that Richard did state that he plans on he applied to start an exchange.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I did see that.
Need some Hex for liquidity as well there too, right? So
yeah, for sure.
So, oh man, that's gonna be crazy. Once we have once we have a fiat on ramp into this stuff and people can just put that shitty dollar bill right in and get, you know, whatever they need right out, it's going to be crazy adoption. And so that's actually what we're going to talk about today, is some of the factors that are going to go into pushing us into a state of critical mass, getting us to the state of virality, really pushing up. And you know, I think whenever we think of critical mass and virality and going viral and all this other thing, it kind of becomes, when you're talking about companies in general, and of course a company isn't crypto, but just in general, when a business is building and it's growing in value, when it gets to that viral state is really whenever it becomes a self-sustainable system. And this is where Hex kind of differs from me, because to me, Hex has been self-sustainable since the beginning. It was going to do what it was going to do no matter
Correct.
what.
Yeah,
Correct.
since day
And
one.
so that's rather interesting to me, is I feel like because of that, in a way, a lot of people don't really know about it, but we already have that critical mass. Like, we're already getting pushed towards that viral state. I just don't think we've necessarily hit it yet. And
Yeah.
so, you know, what do you guys think some of the extra factors are outside of that self-sustainability to push us into the state of virality?
You can go ahead first, man.
Yeah. I mean, I really just think it's, you know, the community, you know, doing the work of just, you know, spreading the word on Twitter and other social media, and you know, just and you know, it's funny. I see a lot of you know, you see a lot of people like buying fancy cars and watches and houses and things, and yeah, and I've seen a spike in that kind of, you know, personal advertising these past couple of months, and I think it really is a lot more effective than, you know, you know, the soccer ads and the magazine ads that we had before, because you know, it's the first time, you know, hexagons can actually show that you know, they can actually, you know, buy stuff that they could never afford before. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really just, you know, showing, you know, tangible results of, you know, people's lives being upgraded through crypto, and it's especially really great timing, because, you know, you see other people in crypto in other coins, like, you know, kind of complaining that, you know, their coins are dumping and stuff. So yeah, I think it's just, you know, it's all coming together, and it's really showing that, you know, Hex is different from everything else. So
Yeah. Thank you to Anon and Hiroshi and Maddie, Nate, everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate y'all for coming by. And yeah, I think you're right, Vince. I think what it really comes down to is just what we've already been doing. And that makes it real easy, right? Just everybody coming on, talking, continuing to reach out on these platforms like Twitter and help people out. And man, that's another thing. Let me go ahead and say it again for everybody. Don't put your private keys into anything, because I've seen like 3 different posts this week and people are still giving their private keys away and getting robbed.
Wow.
And
man, that
and
sucks.
guys, don't look. For the love of Christ, get it on something that's safe and get it
Yeah.
off of your computer, get it off of any electronical device that you have. The only one that should have access to your private keys is you. And if somebody else does, don't expect everything to go right for you, because it's not. Matter of fact, it's going to go the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I had to emphasize on that because I've seen it multiple times this week. I know you guys are still learning. I know that self-responsible finances can be real confusing, but it's time that
Ask questions, man.
it's time that we start being self-responsible for these kind of things, because people not being self-responsible is why, quite frankly, we're in the world that we're in.
Yeah, pretty much.
You start depending on other people to solve your problems, and they take advantage of you. So please stop giving your keys to other people. Please, please, please. Had to make that point real quick. But back to the other point that I was making, just going off of Crypto Vince and what he was saying about the community pushing us forward into virality. Yeah, guys, it's just really just doing what we've been doing, because Hex is a new type of technology that can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it can sustain and balance its own values. Like in a way, the system is going to correct, and the system is going to make people behave in a way that it's going to become more valuable either way. So
Correct.
what we need to do is just communicate that to other people, because that value is already being sustained. We just need to get that value into the hands of other people and let them add more value to that system.
Oh yeah, just spread the word, man.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And that's really it. And that makes it really easy for us. So get your T-shares, get your sacrifice. And that's another thing. I want to go into a topic of inflation real quick, because I was listening to one of your streams the other day, Wales. You were talking about how the closer you are to the inflation, the more you're going to reap the benefits of it. You know, you had kind of pointed out the Federal Reserve has third-party vendors that basically get to touch all the inflation first, so they reap most of those benefits. So in legacy finance, they are using inflation to steal from you.
Correct.
In Hex, inflation is being used to enwealth you, because you are the only one that can hold those T-shares, mint those free coins, and basically, or not mint free coins, sorry, mint those coins and you know, bring those into circulation. And when they come out, you're the first one to touch them, because they're getting paid to you when you're staking. And so we all know that obviously in Hex, you're reaping those benefits because you're that close to the inflation. And this is where I want to talk about the sacrifice phase, because all of the inflation is being minted at like, depending on how much money is put into the sacrifice. No more will be inflated afterwards. So correct me if I'm wrong, by getting into the sacrifice phase, even if it's just a little bit, you are putting yourself closest to the inflation for the pulse system.
Right.
Would that be
that's
true?
that's one way of looking at it, right? Because this is kind of, and Vince is actually probably the best person to speak to this, because I wasn't around for AA, but the AA lobby was merely just a place where you would put in, deposit some ETH, and you would be apportioned whatever the system would mint that day based on the quantity of ETH that you put into the system. And this is basically the same scenario. You're putting in some whatever coin, right? You're sacrificing for a certain points, right, based on the day that you sacrifice and the dollar value at which you sacrifice, right? And then you're allotted certain points, and those points are going to be a representation at some point, maybe, right? No expectation from the work of others, but the idea is as at some point those points will be a representation of pulse to some degree.
Yeah, that's correct. I definitely was around for the AA since day one of Hex, and but I will point out that one major difference is that back in the Hex AA, there was basically a daily bucket of a fixed amount of Hex that you could basically essentially bid on for the amount of ETH that you put in, but in this in the Pulse sacrifice phase, it's a little different, because there's no max supply to try to capture every day. It's just kind of based on the bonding curve. So we could theoretically end up with a huge amount of Pulse relatively compared to the starting supply of Hex. So.
Right. I think so I was actually streaming kind of on this topic yesterday a little bit on what's like a good token design, unit bias and stuff like that. And unit bias was really the main topic that led me to explain to people how Hex, the price target for Hex is infinite. And the reason for that is because what's happening is that you have a system that constantly produces value, with no end in sight. The only thing that can happen to the value that the system produces is that it has a lower bound at 3.69%. But even then, you have price appreciation to contend with. So, where does it end? It really doesn't.
Mathematically, it doesn't.
Doesn't. That's right.
You can't create a ceiling on that, because it's just going to continue to be used, and as long as it's being used, it's adding value to the system.
Correct.
Mm. Which kind of goes back to that self-sustainable part of being able to hold up all of that value and create these new floors where it has good support. And that was kind of the patterns I was talking about, my very non-technical analysis of the price. Like you can see it in the charts. When we have these huge run-ups, we have these very healthy market corrections that create this new floor. We test that floor sometimes multiple times before we move up again, and I've never seen anything move like it. When I came into Hex, really what caught my attention was the price chart, because nothing else in finance moves like that.
No, yeah, it moves like no other.
just nothing moves like that. And you can look at the chart and you can go compare it to everything else we have in finance, and I promise you will not find one single chart that looks remotely close to what Hex looks like.
Not even by a mile.
And that's what really brought me in. And then I don't think it was too long after that I found Maddie, I found you guys, Kareem, and all the other guys in the community, and I was like, phew,
nice.
I struck gold.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
But even better, because even gold isn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I just can't imagine what's about to happen when people realize they can earn trustless interest on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Like in a lot with no middlemen, no censorship resistance. Like people migrated on foot across continents for gold.
Yeah.
Like when people find out they can build an actual wealth from their computer, like things are gonna get crazy. Things are gonna get real crazy real fast, because people don't grasp that concept because it's unrealistic in the world that we live in. Like, you're telling me that I can go put money into a computer and earn 40% APY right now?
No.
That's crazy. Like, that's just insane. And I don't have to go through financial institutions. I just gotta, I guess, communicate with this algorithm. Like, it's
a different world, man.
It's a much different world. It's a much different world. And man, I wish I could have gotten out to Vegas. You guys describe it, and just even being on stream with you guys, it wakens me up and realizes this is real. This is happening. These are real people, and we're coming together to make this happen. So I can't even imagine what it was like being out in Vegas with everybody, because I'm definitely going to try to make it next year. Definitely want to get out there.
Like, even I couldn't make it this time, but I mean, I'm pretty sure Wales had fun there.
Well, it was just something that was really unexpected by everybody, right? And I think that's the most unique thing about what Vegas ended up being, and that's primarily because what's happening is that you're just expecting to meet random people, nothing special, nothing crazy. And then what ended up becoming true is that all of these people are actually who they profess to be online. Nobody's lying. The energy was, man, just crazy, right? And we're talking about being around people that are positive strictly, right? And that's just unheard of, right? When you sit there and think about it, that's not common. Right, so the energy was just bananas.
I mean, most people. I mean, it took me a while to get Alex in here, but I eventually pushed him through to it. We got him in. We got him some, t-shirts before the snapshot. But man, just in general, you start talking about some of this stuff, and people start looking at you like a gambler.
Yeah, because they just don't know.
And I partially blame that on the so-called crypto space, but like it's really hard to get through to people, because like everybody's so broke and so frustrated. It's hard to like come through to yourself and be like, all right, I need to sacrifice this money and put it into something that is just working better, and also has all the opportunity in the world, because nobody knows about it.
Right. Because people just don't. I mean, it's just hard, man. It's really hard for people to believe that something like this exists.
Yeah. And I mean, this is exactly why I'm doing this stream, is to, especially for the people that I know, have somewhere that they can go look at this. And, I'm not really calling them individually every day, trying to get them to, bothering them about it, but they have somewhere that they can go. And it's like, look, like I'm talking to real people from around the world that are telling you the same thing that I'm telling you. And these people are a lot smarter than I am. So I'm really glad to have this platform, and I'm really glad people are going to have the opportunity to come and watch me and watch you guys and get some education out there, because I want more people to just know, like, yo, I'm not getting paid for this. I don't get paid for YouTube. I mean, obviously, if Hex is doing good, it's pumping my bags, but
Right.
it's like, this is testimonial. We want people to come into this system because it's changed a lot of our lives for the better. Mentally, physically, all the alleys you can think of right now. It is completely and totally
It's life changing.
Changed my world completely. My father was an engineer. He made some pretty good money, and I'm working at a grocery store, and I've made more money than he has this year.
There you go.
It's just it's like that to me is crazy. Like I never imagined that kind of world for myself, and I obviously we're just getting started here, so
we're still in the infant stages of this.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's why I really want to hit on, for a lot of us that's been here, I mean, even for the guys that have been here for the beginning, I mean, they've already seen, more than life-changing wealth. For a lot of people that are going to come into the system, they've ever only seen so little that they're only going to need so much from the Hex system. Like Hex pays out so much that I can't imagine that, like, it's kind of like you say, Wells, like the more we go up, the less people have to sell.
Right.
And I think that is emphasized by the fact that people have so little in this world. Like, people don't just have like I'm sure people have things they want to buy, but when the numbers get big enough, eventually it's going to come to the point where you're going to have a lot of people out there that just don't know what to do with their money.
Correct.
And so I really want to hit on, and Alex is my good friend here, and he has a brother named Jake. We've all grown up together. Jake is really cool. But the one thing I was telling Jake, because Jake's into, you'll probably see him on the stream eventually. We haven't been able to get him on yet. But one of the things I was hitting to him was, look, you got your T-shares. They're getting copied over. You've got them locked in for a long time. Like, you're good. Right. What you need to do is focus on yourself, your mental health, and make sure you're discovering yourself and discovering what it is you want to bring to the world, because now you're going to have options and you don't want to waste that opportunity on dumb shit.
Right. Very true.
That's go ahead, Wells.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's a difficult thing about Hex, right? It kind of forces you to reassess what you were doing like 2 minutes ago once you find it.
It's gonna put options back into your life, but it will force you to look into the mirror.
Right.
Because you're going to see a lot of people in this community doing a lot of things for the world. And I'm trying to tell you, you don't want to be sitting back being a couch potato with all this money while everybody's out there making a difference. Right. So it's my recommendation that people get educated. They start focusing on their mental health, their physical health, and they start putting, ideas out there, because, we live in a world where so many people are just vibrationally dead. Like their brain just doesn't function at high levels. It functions at very low levels. And so I think that's going to be hard for a lot of people who have been really functioning at these really low levels, and they're going to get all this money and they're going to think that that's just going to solve that. It's not. Like, you have to discipline yourself. You have to get out there. You have to socialize in ways you've never had to. You're going to have to work in ways you've never had to, even though you have all this money. But I think it's very important that people think about that going into these next couple of months, years, even few decades. Mental health it's like OPSEC. It's not something that you just set up and it's done. It's going to continuously to be attacked. You have to continuously put up those walls and make sure that your security is good and that you're comfortable in your mind. That's very important, and a lot of things go into that: affection, authentication, integrity, courage. There's a lot of things that go into that, but I'd really love to have a conversation with Maddie about all that. I know Maddie talks a lot about that stuff, so would love to get on stream with him sometime. But yeah, that was a big thing for me to come on and talk about today is not only if you don't have Hex, hurry up and get your Hex, but once you have it, make sure you're sure you're not staring at the chart every day. Make sure you're getting out, make sure you're exercising, make sure you're doing things that are good for your mental health. Because I've lost people to mental health, and it's not like it doesn't matter if you have money or not. Like mental health is it should be top priority of every Hexican. Like we have Hex, but Hex is here to create a world where people can actually focus on their mental health. Their physical health, what they want to do with their life, what goals they want to achieve. Hex is not here to make us rich. Hex is here to make the world a better place. So I think people should really focus on that, especially going into these next,
I think it's a good thing you point that out, but I think also, we don't have to be in a world where we consider those two things mutually exclusive. You can, because a lot of people, they have goals of wanting to make the world a better place, but the thing that they need to implement those plans is actually the monetary resources to make
Absolutely.
that happen. So you can be rich and change the world at the same time. Just like what how Richard lives his life. So
yeah, absolutely.
You can have both, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I was more just trying to shift the priority. It's more about trying to make the world a better place than it is about it. Because money is just money.
Sure.
If you're not using it, it's just gonna sit there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a tool.
You're completely right in the fact that it brings economic energy that will need to be used to make some of these changes that we need. So I 110% agree with you there. Yeah. Let's see. $7.2 billion staked. That's crazy. When I came in, we're sitting at about 700 million. So we've done about 10x in the amount of money that's been staked into the system just within the last couple of months. And when I really think about that, that's crazy, because when I staked in Hex, I did it like $1 was my goal, but that goal was kind of spread over a long time. Like I was thinking $1 would come in 5 or 6 years. No, that shit's coming real quick. It's coming real quick, and it's not giving us any warning. So
nope.
If you're trying to time the market, don't. Because that's another thing I would like to talk about. Some of the things that we can expect, or maybe not expect, because obviously you don't expect anything from the work of others, but some of the things that maybe we can see people theorizing on coming into these last couple of days of sacrifice compared to what we've been seeing. Sacrifice started. We had a huge run up. A lot of people were kind of like, let's hold our bags, let's wait. We've come back down. Some people are still holding that theory that we're going to have another run up. But other people are like, I'm just going to get in now because I don't know how much lower it's going to go. What's y'all's opinion on this, and what do you guys think is kind of going on right now?
I'll let Will take that
one. So it seems to me like what's happening right now is that the folks that have potentially sacrificed are doing one of two things. And I was talking about this morning. And nobody's really gonna think about this, but I'll tell you guys this.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is that these entities, whatever entity is it that has these sell orders above 12, 14, whatever price it is, right?
Yeah.
It could be one of two things. Either they're trying to protect their position until the last day, or they're trying to accumulate as much hex as possible until the last day to then let the price skyrocket. So that's one thing, nobody's talked about, because why would they? Not a common thought for crypto people, but yeah, entirely plausible. Because what happens is what right now the market can't go above 13.8 cents, right? Anytime it tries to go there, it comes back down.
Yeah.
So that's a function of the order book, right? And what's actually sitting there, because we can see that, oh crap, hold on. We can see that price is trying to go up, but that's it, right? Like it stops going up after a certain point. Yeah. And that's a function of the order book, right? Like it can't, like the quantity of orders can't get through that price level.
Yeah, and I saw that huge, everybody was kind of talking about it when it happened, that huge sell wall that kind of came in. What was it at, like the 5-6 cent level?
Oh, that's a buy wall. That's a buy wall.
Yeah. And that was like another thing that I was, another thing we've kind of hit on is like that building support that it gets, because that thing came out of nowhere. We jumped, like, how much liquidity hopped in that little spot overnight? Like I don't know what the exact number was, but it was a lot of buy orders set at that level.
It was like I actually don't know that number for that one. I know the number for the sell orders. It was like 8 million or 9 million.
Gotcha. And that was what was that sell order at? Was that at like 15, 16?
Nah, they were spread across from, what is this, 13.8 cents. Hold on, let me zoom in. Yeah, 13.94 right now to 16. But originally they were spread out from 13.8 to 16.
Yeah. And basically what that means is like those sell orders, we basically got to like eat those up before we kind of move past the next. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was having a little trouble understanding that, but I think I get it now, because we're kind of just in between two walls. The buy wall is a lot bigger than the sell wall, but we still got to eat through that, $8 million of sell orders right there to kind of push through to the next level. So
correct, because you have to remember, everything is a transfer of value.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to get from one thing to the next in order to be able to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I personally, I agree with Wales. I think since we saw, most of the biggest whales on the leaderboard sacrifice, within the first couple days of the sacrifice phase. So I do believe that they're kind of like compressing the price within this range to kind of protect their pulse bags a little bit, because I think they feel the sense of urgency.
Since, I get what you're saying now. So
people have to keep in mind that Pulse is going to be completely deflationary upon launch. So this 19 days is the only chance you get to to actually get some of the first supply of it.
So Alex, to kind of put this into detail, there are people who want to be the biggest people in Pulse. They want to be the bet, like they want to have the biggest bags. They want to, they want to kind of control that position. So when you think about it, they went in at the very beginning and got that very flat rate. For every $1, they get 10,000 points. Yeah. And they don't want the price to go up too high, because then there could be other whales that could get more in because the price went up too much. So they've put in like certain orders to try to keep the price down until the end of the sacrifice phase, so that they can hold that position. So do you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit. So is that why a lot of people were kind of like emergency unstaking and just
so a lot of people were emergency unstaking just to get into sacrifice earlier. Gotcha. And that's my understanding of that. I can't think of any other reason that people were ending their stakes. I mean, people people always in their stakes, especially when we start going up a lot. People want to take those gains.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I think we got more emergency in stakes because people were just trying to get their hex coins unlocked so that they could put them into sacrifice.
I agree. Because Richard was pretty. I think he was kind of. A lot of people didn't really expect, Pulse to the sacrifice phase to start when it did. So a lot of people didn't have available liquid hex to actually participate in this. So I think that's why we saw an uptick in emergency on stakes. So yeah.
But the whole point I was making on the whole Pulse chain thing is just like there are people trying to protect their position, and in order to do that, they have to hold the price down. So when those positions are locked in, there's no telling where this thing's going to go. And maybe even before that, because I think as we close in on sacrifice, and we start getting towards the end, I think Richard's going to release some kind of information about something to kind of add a little bit of a catalyst to the whole thing. It couldn't happen. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't want to mess with it. Maybe he likes how it's going. I don't really know. But I do expect as we close in, maybe those last few days, maybe even a couple days after, we're going to see something come out of Richard's mouth that's going to make something, go haywire. Because we're still waiting on, obviously Pulse Chain being, launched, and we're also waiting on the snapshot and all that. So there's information. There's still a lot of bullish information to come out. So that's all of that's real fascinating. And I'm glad you guys clarified all that about the buy walls and the sell walls, because I wasn't really understanding why they were doing that, but now I totally get it. So I'm glad we got
for sure, bro.
That.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And where are we at? How many days do we have left?
That's where that white line is.
So we got about a week left. You have a week left to get yourself as close to that inflation as possible, because this keeps going up, and it's going to get more expensive. But obviously, like I said, we are still waiting on bullish news, so you could still get, you could get more for the hex that you're holding in the next 7 days. That is possible, but man, I'm glad I went in at the beginning. I'd be so stressed out right now. I can't even like, is it gonna go down more? Is it gonna go up? I don't know. I have too many mental health problems, anxiety, and stress to be worried about it. I'm just glad I was able to get in when I did.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, the important thing to remember is that no matter when you get in, you're still going to be the first one in, so it doesn't actually matter. It's just a different variation of how much you're going to win. So
because the more people that get in, the more people. So basically, the more dollars that are put in, the higher supply we're going to have.
Correct.
And then that supply is just sent out in ratios to how much everybody put in.
Correct. Yeah, we're already 10x what it was supposed to be.
And it was already pretty high. So and I know you've talked about it before, Wales. I don't really know why this is, but can you talk about some of the benefits of having a higher supply?
So there's not a benefit or not, right? Like, it's not really, I don't view it that way. The reality is that the benefit is to early adopters. Now, how is that? It's because they're going to be the first ones to pick up the most supply. It's kind of like all those early Bitcoiners that sold all their coins and they could never get them back. Right? If like this time around, that isn't going to be a common story.
No.
Yeah. Right. So that's going to change things a little bit. And that's why things are going to be a little bit different from the hex perspective, because
it's going to be so interesting, like bringing some of the ideologies that we have in hex and moving it to a system and a tool like Pulse. It's going to be interesting to see the kind of effects that it has on the Pulse price, because I think we'll see more volatility, obviously, because Pulse doesn't have the same mechanisms protecting its price the way Hex does. But when you talk about most of its supply going out to hexagons, I mean, that's very bullish.
Correct. Yep.
Very bullish. Because we're holders. We like to hold and we like to hold and we like to hold. And as long as we're holding, Pulse Chain has scarcity, a lot of it, and a lot of, as more people want it, that's going to put all that pressure on that price to rise.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm very
and not only that too, but we do know that whenever transactions are made, 25% of the fee gets burned permanently. So yeah, you have this constant, constant burning of the supply, and it just keeps going down. So
that's actually pretty important. Yeah. That's a big. That's going to be a big chunk of what ends up disappearing in terms of supply.
Yeah. That's actually why, going back to your question about the boosting the initial supply, I think it'd be good to start off with as high of a supply as possible, because it can only go down from here, or from launch. I mean, so yeah.
Given there's a sell wall between 13 to 14 cents, couldn't those be limit orders placed ages ago too?
They're not, though, because we know they're not.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you can see when those orders were placed, right?
Yeah, you can look at
the date.
And I mean, maybe a few of those weren't placed with the same intentions as some of the bigger ones, but yeah, we haven't been at this price range long enough that I think those limits were set there ages ago. Because I mean, we really just got here. So I don't see that. But yeah, I think most of those, most of that sell wall is probably new orders that were just put there once we came up to these levels, and like we discussed, basically to compress the price from going up so that some of those guys could keep their position. Yeah, I'm with you there, DJ Cryptomatics. I can chill. Obviously, there's different opinions, but yeah, that's my opinion. That was my game theory going into it, and so far it's worked out. I may regret it in the next week or so, but we'll see.
I mean, right now, whoever didn't sack is looking foolish, right? I haven't sacked yet, so I'm perfectly okay with it, though. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I know what I'm trying to do, so it's fine.
Yeah,
and I'm always trying to bet on Hex no matter what. So
there's a lot of game theory going into this. A lot of game theory, and I think
for sure.
I think the next 7 days could make a lot of people idiots, a lot of people geniuses. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a weighing of risks,
and
right?
not yet, and really not even idiots. Like you're a winner. If you got in, you're a winner. That's that. But as far as the game theory goes, it's going to be real interesting to see, what kind of position people get within the next 7 days, because we're coming up on the fourth quarter. So
yeah, we are.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see how everybody plays it out. See if how long people hold it in for. Because it'd just be real crazy, especially if we got a pump like on the last day and it was just a crazy pump. That would be crazy to see who actually held and who actually got those positions. So, but to think about it, if you stake the last day, because the last day would be that $1.9. Will we ever reach that $2 mark, or is that like on the last? Okay, I see. Never mind. So on the 19th day, it's $2 for every 10,000 points. So on the last day, we would need the price to be 2x from where it was from those first 5 days to be a better position than unless you bought
at
more,
least,
of course.
So
I guess you would have to go back and measure where we were in those first 5 days and kind of do that math if you really wanted to see like whose game theory works out the best. But at the end of the day, if you're getting in, you're 110% winning.
And you would have to eat through that giant soul wall. So, yeah. Got a lot working against those people that are betting on that. So
it's going to be interesting, though, especially with some of the hints Richard has dropped. And somebody else pointed out something last night on Twitter that I also want to talk about. Maybe you guys saw it, maybe you didn't. We see that we see the coins that are being sent to this address. All the hex coins that we see aren't being sold. That was pretty obvious that was going to happen. But we do see that these other coins, which is like worth a little over $30 million now, are being moved or transferred or taken out, whatever. Do you think it would be possible that those other coins might be used to somehow either pump the price of Pulse or Hex or both?
Oh yeah, I've actually had this conversation before. I mean, it could, but is it really necessary? I think just removing that much supply is good enough because we know that those coins aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to say one way or the other, but I'm just not entirely convinced that that would be a wise course of action on the OA's part. Assuming that that's the entity you're talking about. I don't know. I just don't think entities that oversee policy to a certain aspect, to a certain respect, should engage in that type of activity within the system.
Fair enough.
That's just my opinion.
And that was my original thought too. I wasn't sure if there was a difference because it is just like a regular address, but then again, I guess the OA is too.
Yeah.
I guess there was a couple different things that brought me away from that thought, but that was my original thought on it. Is like, everybody's talking about like magic rug pull or like magic carpet ride. What was it again? It's just Richard buying up Hex and taking us to the moon, and I'm just like, I don't, I think he wants this to work itself
out.
Yeah.
More organic behavior.
So I do agree. I think that's I do believe in the more organic growth. I think this community is doing more than enough to get us to where we need to be. So I think something like that's completely unnecessary, especially with the haters in the space. They would have a little hissy fit because they do over everything.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with y'all there. But I think that's enough theoreticals on Pulse. I wanted to go into some of that because I know we're coming into the last 7 days here. I kind of talked about sudden wealth, mental health, all the topics I had on there today. Is there anything else you guys want to hit on? I know we've only been on for about 47 minutes here, but we've really covered everything I really wanted to talk about today.
I didn't really have anything off the top of my head. It was just kind of I mean, I've mostly just been focusing on watching this whole pulse sack phase thing play out. So I mean,
cool.
It's been a wild ride, just watching all the Hex being sacrificed and stuff.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting. I'm probably gonna get another video up. Probably towards the end of this sacrifice phase. I would like to get at least one more out before it's over. So I'm not going to do real long streams. I'm ADHD as hell, and I can only focus for so long. But we did talk about everything, and I want to get back over to your channel as well, because I know you had those charts up this morning. I was at your stream last night, and I knew you were going to get them up this morning, and I slept all damn day, so I need to get back over there and look at those. But yeah, if you gentlemen want to go ahead, give out your information, and I think we can wrap things up here.
Oh, sure. I guess I'll go first. I'm CryptoVince369 on Twitter and Telegram.
Sweet.
YouTube.com/Whales Only on YouTube. On Telegram, t.me/Whales Only, and on Twitter, it is, as you see on the screen, Whales Only with the 1.
Sweet. Nice. Alex?
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, just my YouTube channel is what you see right there, Smash Game. I just cover a bunch of different things. I kind of hop in on this just to kind of educate myself more. I'm kind of a newborn when it comes to this crypto market stuff, so I like to absorb as much knowledge as I possibly can. I mean, talking to you guys, I already feel my IQ going up,
Yeah.
That's what it's about, man. Just keep on trying to learn, man. Just keep on trying to learn.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, you guys are at my YouTube right now, so you guys obviously know how to find me here. You guys can find me you can look up Sir Hex a lot on Twitter. You'll find it there. And I think those are really the only two platforms I use. I'm not going to give out my number or Snapchat, so I think that's it today, guys. All right, gentlemen. Y'all have a good one. Thanks again for coming by.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all a lot.
It was fun, and yeah, I'll try to get you guys on another one. And if you guys need any space filled up there on any of the channels, you know, if you guys just need somebody else, please, you guys have my DMs on Twitter, so just hit me up.
Sure, yeah.
For sure.
All right. Thanks for coming by, brothers. Y'all be safe.
All right.
All right. Peace out, Hexin.
Peace, y'all.